Hello, dear friends. Very good morning. And it's a matter of great pleasure for me to be with you once again in this YouTube video lecture series. And dear friends, I would like to welcome all the students of BA Semester 2 of English Literature of Hemchandracharya, North Gujarat University, and all the lovers of literature. Dear students, today I am going to talk about one of the famous forms of poetry, and that is sonnet. Because this form of poetry, sonnet, is already there in the syllabus of BA Semester 2 of English Literature in paper number CC201 in the 4th unit. So, my dear student, in the slide, you can see the syllabus of paper number CC201, and the name of this paper is Introduction to the Forms of Literature, particularly verse. So, here in the slide, you can see that 4 units are there in this paper, and in the very first unit, you can see that 2 topics are given to learn, to study, and these 2 topics are epic as a form of literature, and the another one is ballad as a form of literature. So, dear students, in the second unit, you can see that once again 2 topics are given to learn, to study, and these 2 topics are John Keats' La Belle Dame sans Mercy and Thomas Hardy's Her Immortality. In the third unit, you can see that 2 very famous poems are given in syllabus, and this first poem is Robert Burns' Red Red Rose, and the another poem that is given to study is W.B. Yeats' When You Are Old. So in the slide you can see that in the 4th unit some acquaintances are given to you, and these acquaintances are divided into 2 parts. In the blue row you can see that various forms of poetry are given, and these forms of poetry are a lyric, ode, sonnet, elegy, and song. In the gray row you can see that various forms of prose is given to learn, and these forms are dramatic monologue, novel, autobiography, satire, and an allegory. So this is all about your syllabus of paper number CC201. And dear friends, today I am going to talk about one of the very famous forms of poetry, sonnet. So dear students, today I would like to talk about how did sonnet come to England, what is sonnet, and the birthplace of sonnet, or what we can say that the origin of sonnet. So all this we will discuss in this YouTube video lecture. So let us start with the origin of sonnet. So there is no fixed birthplace or the time of the origin of sonnet, but many scholars assume that the very form has been evolved in Italy, and it is evolved in the latter half of the 13th century. So the famous poet who practiced earlier this form was Dante, and after Dante we can see that he is the most famous poet, Petrarch, who used this literary form prolifically or extensively. So after that, this literary form is known as the sonnet, or we can call it as the Petrarchan sonnet. So dear students, you can see that Thus, this form is evolved in Italy and later it spread in other countries of Europe. So, here we can see that the meaning of the word sonnet is a little, what we can say, that is a little music or strain. This word sonnet is derived from the Italian word sonato, which means sound or strain. So it has the quality of music, it has the quality of singing, or what we can say that every sonnet contains this quality of music. We can find this musical quality through the rhyming or the rhythm of the poem. In this way, this form has been developed in Italy, and we can see that this form has been developed in Italy, and this form has traveled from Italy to other European countries in the first half of the 16th century. So, in short, we can see that, or we can say that this form came into England in the first half of the 16th century, and Sir Thomas Yat and Henry Howard, the Earl of Surrey, brought this literary form into England. So, actually, these two scholars, they went to Italy for some diplomatic reasons, or what we can say that some political reasons, and they spent some days there, and when they returned to England, they composed small or short poems in Italian form, and later this form has been known as English sonnets or the English poems. In this way, this form spread into Italy and from Italy to England. So now look at the concept or definition of sonnet. So this term sonnet derived or derives from the Italian sonato, a little sound, or what we can say song, and except for the curtal sonnet, the ordinary sonnet consists of 14 lines, usually in iambic pentameters with considerable variations in rhyme scheme. So, dear friends, in this slide you can see the various types of sonnet. So now let us try to understand kinds of sonnet, or what we can say that the types of sonnet. The very first form of sonnet is Italian sonnet, or what we can say that a Petrarchan sonnet, or it is also known as the classical sonnet. In this kind of sonnet, we have very particular structure of the poem. This type of sonnet is divided into two parts. So dear students, in this slide you can see that it is divided into two parts, and these two parts are an octave and the sestet. So in octave we have two stanzas, and each stanzas have 4 lines, and these 4 lines are called a quatrain. Listen dear students, these 4 lines are called a quatrain. Thus here you can see that there are 8 lines in an octave. Now look at the second part of the sonnet, and that is the sestet. The second part of the poem is known as the sestet, and the sestet contains 6 lines. Here you can see in the slide, In sestet, we have two stanzas. One stanza contains of 3 lines each, and this 3 lines stanzas is known as tercet. So dear students, this we have already said that a sonnet contains 14 lines, or any 14 lines poem is called as sonnet. This is the fixed structure of an Italian sonnet, or what we can say the Petrarchan pattern, and that is octave and sestet. In octave we have 8 lines, and in sestet we have 6 lines. So again, there are two significant qualities of Petrarchan sonnet, and these two qualities are the caesura and what we can say volta. The first quality, it has a caesura, and it means it is a long push. After 8th line, or there is a space between an octave and sestet, and this space is indicated by caesura, or what we can say push. The second quality of this sestet is volta. The volta is a turn in the thought, generally begins in a sestet or in the very first line of the sestet. So we can say that the problem is posed in an octave and its solution is given in the second part of the sonnet, and that is the sestet. This is the first type of sonnet, and that is the Petrarchan or Italian, or what we can say classical sonnet. So in the slide you can see the rhyming scheme of Petrarchan sonnet. So the rhyming scheme of Petrarchan sonnet is ABBA, ABBA and CDE, CDE for an octave, and in sestet we have 3 variations, and these variations are CDC, DCD, CDE, DCE. So here dear student, you can see that this is the way of recognizing the Petrarchan sonnet. So dear students, now look in this slide, and let us move towards the second type of sonnet, and it is English sonnet, or the another name of this English sonnet is Shakespearean sonnet. It is also known as Shakespearean sonnet because Shakespeare has used this form very extensively or splendidly. Now let us try to understand the structure of the English sonnet or the Shakespearean sonnet. As we have already talked that sonnet has been brought to England by Sir Thomas Yat and the Earl of Surrey, and they have composed the sonnet into particular form. They have composed the sonnet into 3 quatrains and a couplet. Now these 3 quatrains are unconnected with each other, and the same form is adopted by Shakespeare and many other English poets. Thus, this sonnet has a very compact structure of 3 unconnected quatrains and a couplet. Now in that 3 quatrains we have particular rhymings, and the rhyming scheme of Shakespeare or English sonnet is ABAB for first quatrain, CD for the second quatrains, and EF it is for the third quatrain, and couplet GG. So you can see in this slide the rhyming scheme of Shakespearean sonnet. Now all these 3 quatrains are separate, or what we can say unconnected, from each other, but these quatrains are connected with the same theme or same thought or same idea, because in this sonnet we have a single thought or single feeling of emotions that is expressed through the whole sonnet. So here you can find that it has a single thought, single feeling, or the same emotions. Thus, these quatrains are separate, but the thoughts are same. The emotions are same. The feelings are same. Thus, dear student, this is the second type of sonnet. There are many Shakespeare sonnets which are addressed to love. Thus, generally, the theme of Shakespearean sonnet is love. Now, uh, another, we have a separate form of a English sonnet, that is a Spenserian sonnet. He composed sonnets and changed the very structure of the sonnets. He connected all the three quatrains to each other, and we have the connected rhyme scheme, and that is known as the Spenserian rhyme scheme. And that rhyme scheme is AB AB, BC BC, CD CD, GG. Now when we find this structure, we can identify that this sonnet is a Spenserian sonnet. So, dear students, thus the thought or the ideas or the emotions is single. So, these are the three major types of sonnet. And this is all about sonnet. So, dear friend, now I would like to talk about the theme or the subject matter of the sonnet. So, students, in Elizabethan period, in Petrarchan period, these sonnets were addressed or composed on particular theme, and this theme is love. Generally, sonnets were composed on love in Elizabethan period or Shakespearean period. So, love is the prominent theme. But when Milton composed sonnets, he widened the scope of sonnets, and you can see he is on his blindness. It is a very good example of different theme in his sonnet. It's a different kind of sonnet. It is based on different theme, and that is a relationship of the author with the Almighty, or what we can say that it is the relationship of the author with the God. So it is very different. Now in our period, the sonnets are composed on any theme. There is not particular subject matter or particular emotions or passions or special kind of theme for the structure of sonnet. You can compose on any themes. So there is no limitations of the subjects. Thus, sonnets are composed on any theme within the range of the earth and the sky. So, dear students, it is all about sonnet, and sonnet as a form of poetry. So, this is all about the sonnet as a form of poetry, about the theme of sonnet, about the origin of sonnet. And dear students, if you like this lecture, if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe this video, and have a nice day to all dear students. Thank you.